Well, I'll get it started. Mike Lane was planning on being here. Introduce our counseling team. We have the dream team of counselors here today. So thank you for being here. Obviously, all of our counselors are amazing, but we have elementary represented, middle school and high school very well represented. So thanks everybody for being here. And then we all know that school counselors play a vital role in our school community. We know that students face many challenges that can affect not only their mental health, but also their emotional stability. And these amazing people help our students each and every day not only regulate, but also deal with conflict, build resilience and coping skills so that they can get back to class and do the learning that we want them to be engaged in. And today we're going to hear all about our comprehensive school counseling program and the work that happens on the daily. And then, oh, I want to apologize. Yeah, that's fun. There it is. So I was speaking and not speaking into the mic, so anyone on Zoom probably couldn't hear me. Sorry, Maria. But anyway, just to add to that, we want to thank our counselors for being here and setting the stage for our students to do well in their school, but also have the emotional support that we need to get them to do the learning that makes it happen in the classroom. So thank you for being here. We're going to hear about a comprehensive school counseling program today and the day in the life of our counselors in a variety of ways. So I don't know who's going to kick us off from our counseling team. Who wants to get us started? Well, let's get that party started. Awesome. Thanks, Liz. Oh,
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Is that better? I'm Rhonda Brender. I'm the counselor at Orchard Middle School. This is currently my 25th year at Orchard. So I am on my second generation. I don't think I've hit the third generation of kids quite yet. And I'm currently serving as the lead for the counseling team for the district.
I'm Liz Dedamore and I'm at Lincoln Elementary. I was previously at Columbia, so now there's two of us at Lincoln. I'm with Erin McKenzie. Thanks.
yeah,
I haven't.
You got it? Okay. Thank you, Liz. My name is Heather Rosa and I'm a counselor at Westside High School. It's my 4th year there, so I'm saying it's my senior year at Westside.
My name's Stephanie Stuber. I'm at Wenatchee High School, and this I think is my 7th year. And previous to working at Wenatchee, I was also at Eisenhower High School in Yakima.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Anaya. I am a counselor at Wenatchee High School, currently working with the senior class of 25. Been in the district for 18 years, and this is my 5th year as a school counselor.
So my name is Will White, and to be honest, I've lost track of how many years I've been doing this, but I believe this is my 13th year here in Wenatchee as a counselor at the high school.
So we wanted to go through kind of some of the promise statements and the big 6 for the district and just talk about how as counselors we support those ideals. So our promise statement you're all familiar with. So as counselors, we are part of the MTSS, the multi-tiered system of support. We have an integral role in that facilitation of student study team meetings where we evaluate data and determine how best to support students, determining what their needs are. I've handed out a couple of documents to you. So we're going to reference the American School Counseling Association quite a lot throughout this presentation. This is just a 1-page front and back flyer that talks about the school counselor's role in terms of the American School Counseling Association and what we do. The other document that I have is the Ask a Student Standards, Mindsets and Behaviors. So we'll be referencing both of these documents, but part of what we do is to encourage students to adopt these mindsets, and we instruct on the standards that are listed below. So we instruct on things, learning strategies, self-management strategies, and social skills. And those are some of the standards that as counselors we reference.
Okay, so thriving environment, obviously, I feel like we play a large role in this. Welcoming spaces where all individuals flourish, are seen and valued, feel safe, and know they belong. We have, gosh, probably for about 4 to 5 years now at the elementary level, we have social emotional learning built into all the master schedules. So the first half an hour of the day is a time for students to eat breakfast together in the classroom. And then there's curriculum that the teachers lead the class through to focus on classroom unity, community, relationship, and there are the social skills built into that as well. The counselors help lead the PBIS, the positive behavioral interventions in the building. We are resources for teachers as well as the kids. And we are able to know the most individual needs of the students to meet them where they're at in the times and situations where the teachers just simply don't have the resources to do so or the time. So we definitely, contribute to that welcoming space.
Okay, so next is belonging and connection. Students know they belong, they feel seen, valued, and heard, and have healthy relationships with staff and peers. And the way counselors help support that are one of the biggest things that we do, when students are struggling, we listen. We acknowledge their experience and validate their feelings. We offer support and help them get connected to resources to meet their needs. Our conversations help our students reflect on the situation, gain new perspective, learn how to handle it maybe better next time, and hopefully help our students grow through their experiences. We work with students to help them develop interpersonal skills with things like building positive relationships, both with their peers and within their families. We help them build self-advocacy skills, helping them learn how to ask questions, communicate with their teachers, peers, help them learn how to express their concerns in a positive and healthy way, both within the classroom and again, within their relationships. And helping them learn how to set boundaries and communicate those effectively so that overall it helps contribute to, a positive experience for them within our school. We work with students to help them find areas of interest. So through our conversations, helping them find classes that are connected to their future pathways, talking to them about clubs and different activities, and just having some conversation to get to know them, build those relationships, to help them learn how to navigate the system and ultimately find a path where they feel successful and they feel included, and just to kind of keep that forward momentum. We help advocate for our students, whether it's through an IEP referral, 504 accommodations, facilitating conversations with their teachers, because those can be a little bit challenging sometimes. Facilitating, getting them connected with community resources, maybe counseling, therapy, getting them resources like school supplies, food, whatever they're needing. So we are kind of that conduit to help them get connected to whatever it is that they might be needing to make sure that, again, they can come to school prepared, feel welcomed, and feel ready to be successful in the classroom. And overall, we work to make connections with students and form genuine relationships. We take opportunities to acknowledge the positive things that are going on and to celebrate their successes. Connect when we see signs of struggle, to come and offer support and talk through those experiences. Acknowledgement in passing, so standing in the hall and greeting them in the morning and saying goodbye in the afternoons and helping them feel seen in the building. All of that kind of goes into helping create an environment where they know that they are welcome, where they know that they are wanted, and where they know that they have supports and safe people to connect with.
Okay, I'm going to talk about students are on track to graduate by the end of freshman year and beyond. And this doesn't just happen in high school. Counselors are with kids from kindergarten all the way up. And so in elementary and in middle school, counselors are helping teachers identify the kids that might need extra support. They're helping them get ready to be in the classroom to learn. And as you've heard from all my colleagues, I mean, this is both social emotional needs they have, maybe learning disabilities they might have, and they will collaborate with other staff to help get them the resources that they need. This is something so that when they come to high school, you know, we do a transition with the other counselors, and we're hearing about kids that might already be at a tier 2 level. We are looking at like the data to see which classes they should be placed into. We meet on a regular basis with a student support team to look at attendance, to look at grades. So we're constantly just checking data to see how they're doing once they get into high school as well. And then even after freshman year, we continue to come up with a plan. If they are off track, we're then putting in extra supports. We're doing some, you know, having them come to summer school. I mean, the ultimate goal is to get them to graduate and to feel, and along with all these other things that we're doing, to make sure that they feel valued and seen and heard. And then ultimately ready to go on after high school. And then the next slide talks about our high school and beyond plan. So this is a graduation requirement. Again, this plan starts in middle school, technically starts in middle school, where we're starting to do some activities around what they might want to do. This includes counselors, but also we have they're called College Success Team. They were hired on to start meeting with parents and students about different opportunities that are in the community to get kids connected with different careers and to spark their interest and let them know what is out there. The state just adopted a universal platform called School Links, and we are lucky enough we've been using School Links for about 6 years now. And so we are familiar with it. I feel like our team has been a big part of some of these listening and learning sessions that the state is doing to find out what School Links is about, what it can do. And we've been able to come in and say, this is how we've used it. These are the things that we need to maybe tweak a little bit, or, I mean, it's been a great collaborative effort. And like I said, it is a great platform, and it's something I have linked on here. If you want to click on the high school, we sat down as a team to go through all of the things. These are all the different activities that School Links has to offer. And we went through and kind of organized it, putting in what we are already doing, but then just to highlight the activities that we definitely want to continue using. And we're kind of have to wait to see what the state says, exactly what we have to do. We're hoping it is similar to what we have on this document. But in the beginning, right here, just students on board. And what that means is they're just first logging into School Links, and they do a quick career assessment. So this is happening in the middle school. It connects them with different career clusters. So they can start researching what careers are in that cluster. In middle school also, there's a ton of different assessments they can do. Social emotional learning assessment, top skills, which is also like a career assessment. What's your learning style, self-discovery. So these are all the things that I think it's 7th and 8th grade that they're doing. And then if you could scroll up, or if you could scroll up just a little bit on there. Yeah, so everything in purple is middle school. And then what here is in yellow, we use this for when the kids are doing their class requests for high school. So this course plan, it gets put in there and they get to see all the different courses that they could take at high school, and they start talking about and mapping out what they might want to do, what classes we offer. And then in 9th grade, we're talking specifically with them about just making the most out of high school. And like Jen was saying, connecting them with clubs. We do SMART goals with them. You know, what is your goal for high school? Or maybe just what's your goal for this year? And then in sophomore year, we're doing some more intensive career exploration, again, with those career clusters, and we're making it connect to classes that we offer at the high school. So if they are interested in law, then we're having them take law and justice at that, not making them, but we're suggesting for them to take either law and justice or mock trial or other classes that we have. And then if you scroll up a little bit more, the blue is, we are doing, actually letting them know what are all the options that they have after they graduate: college, apprenticeship programs, the military, and anything that they're interested in. We're helping them make a plan. And they have different YouTube videos and things like this that both parents and students can view. And then we're also talking about it with them in the classroom. So we go in and do classroom presentations every year. And then the last part is just their senior year, where it all comes together. We're talking with them about financial aid, if that is what their plan is to go on to college. They have a whole bunch of different resources in School Links around scholarships. And so this tool is helping us also just kind of continue to guide students through high school and really trying to connect what they're learning in the classroom with what they are going to want to go and do after they graduate.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So, is this happening with Running Start kids at all too? Are they getting any kind of like outreach? I know they're separate from the high school, but
Right.
like having, you know, especially since some of them are end up back at the high school, and having some of this information available to them seems like it would help. But
yeah, so like I said, they go junior year to Running Start. And by then we've done, you know, all the career exploration piece with them, but anything that we do in the classroom, we email out to both parents and students, so they have access to it. And then every senior, regardless if they're in Running Start or not, sits down and does a senior meeting with the counselor. So it's a one-on-one meeting. And we have a counselor that is specifically for Running Start students, and she usually meets with students 2 or 3 times a year. The Running Start students 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
There we go. All right, priority partnerships. Okay. Ooh. So it would be impossible to do the work that counselors do in isolation without partnering with, of course, our amazing students, our families, our community members, and just all of the incredible people kind of in our village, because it takes a village, right? So we are really big on prioritizing just those relationships between our staff and every adult in the school building, building those relationships with our students. So they know every student can identify their adult that they can go to for whatever they need. We are in every building inviting our parents in to back to school nights, we have different education offerings that we do in the evenings to accommodate busy work schedules. and just offering, just trying to communicate out now with Parent Square, just different opportunities for students or their parents to really get involved with what's going on at school. We partner with many of the local just mental health providers in the Valley. So CVCH, Akin, Confluence, and even private therapists, many of which will come to the buildings to meet with their students, which is fantastic. That's really just removing the barriers of transportation and other just logistical things like that, and serving the students better, helping them get exactly what they need. We have amazing partnerships with Wenatchee Valley College, local industry leaders, our small businesses have been really involved with helping our students prepare for future careers and just learning more about what is going on here in the Valley and beyond. So not just limited here to what's going on in Wenatchee. Yeah. And all of these amazing partnerships are just preparing our students for life after graduation.
To develop and implement a comprehensive school counseling program. It is something that as district counselors, we've always had a plan and a program in place, but this just lent some guidelines for how every district should function in terms of their counseling program. This program has to address student social emotional needs, academic needs, and career development. Those are the three main areas that counselors do focus on. It has to align with the American School Counseling Association. That is the governing body that gives us our ethical standards, our standards for students, and kind of guides our work. So the Ask a National model, this page that I handed out gives a little bit of information about it. But basically this model is a framework for school counseling programs. It outlines all the components that need to be part of the plan. I found that a lot of times there's either a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding as to what school counselors actually do. I had a conversation a few years back with one of my own children who seemed to be under the impression that I sort of sit in my office and just wait for someone to have a crisis, then spring into action. And I had to explain that, well, that is part of what I do. There's a whole lot of other stuff that is sort of behind the scenes sometimes, or a lot more preventative work that we want to get to. We have a lot of kids. And unless we're working on prevention, we will never be able to respond to all of the crises that happen. So the counseling plan that we develop addresses all those different types of things. It has to be based on data. We spend a lot of time reviewing the data that's available to us in terms of attendance and discipline and that type of thing. But there's lots of other ways that we collect data, and we'll talk a little more about that. Has to be delivered systematically. So you're familiar probably with the concept of tier 1 interventions versus tier 2 and 3. Tier 1 is what's presented to everyone. Sometimes people think, oh, well, the school counselor only works with those kids who are in distress. And the truth is we provide service to all students in the building. Not the same service to all students, because not all students need the same service, but we do have a baseline of tier 1 intervention that we provide for all students. And then for kids who are needing more service, that closing the gap and those opportunity gaps for those kids that aren't responding to the tier 1, that have larger distresses in their life, they get either individual or group support as we go on. We try and align our building plan, our ASCA plan, with our building goals and also with the district goals. To fully implement an ASCA model comprehensive school counseling program, the American School Counseling recommends 1 counselor for every 250 students. In Wenatchee, we are currently at 1 counselor for every 380 students. That is a district average. If you look building by building, there are certain buildings that are nearer to the 250 and certain buildings that are much farther away. I will say that I don't know of many districts across the state, across the country, that come close to hitting that 1 to 250, because the state does not fund anywhere near counseling at a 1 to 250 ratio. So we know that's not always realistic, but that is a fully developed plan. That is what they would recommend for staffing ratios. And so oftentimes we're in a position where we have to prioritize what our needs are and maybe not cover everything because we just don't have the staffing to do everything that's in a full model. A comprehensive school counseling plan, this talks about how we respond. So the responsive services corner, that is what my son thinks is all I do, is the responsive service. We jump into action when there's a distress. We do individual counseling. We respond to crises. We do conflict resolution when kids aren't able to get along. Those types of things. And that is a large part of what we do. But if you look to the left of that, the guidance curriculum. So this is that preventative work. This is where we're going into classrooms and providing instruction and lessons on lots of different topics. We do a lot of individual planning. We do some goal setting with kids, a lot of scheduling work at the secondary level, individual check-ins, academic supports. And then the fourth quarter is that system support. So how do we support our systems? We're members of many, many teams within our buildings and within the district. We collaborate with all the different partners in terms of families and staff and students and community partners, all of that. A comprehensive school counseling program has to have 4 components. First, it needs to be aligned with the state and national standards. So that is the ASCA model standards. If you look at that mindsets and behaviors document, this one that I handed out, I'm sure you're familiar with the math team has standards, the reading and writing teams have standards. These are the behavioral standards that we are tasked with as counselors. So standards within learning strategies, self-management, and social skills. When we go in and do classroom lessons, most of them are around those kinds of areas. Second, it needs to provide a process for identifying student needs. Students show their needs to us in many different ways, and we recognize them in different ways. So a student may self-refer to us. They may let us know, hey, I've got a concern. We may get a referral from a parent, from a teacher, from a community therapist. But by just having referrals, we tend to miss kids, those quiet kids who are in need but aren't showing it in any way. So we have other screening tools that we use where teachers give us screening information on all the students in the school to make sure we're supporting everyone in some way. The plan must explain how direct and indirect services will be delivered. And then finally, we need an annual review and assessment process to make sure we're on track and doing what we need to be doing. Within the plan, we also set goals.
Okay, so each year we come up with different goals. This year, our elementary group decided to have a consistent goal based on one of our units that we go into the classrooms and teach, so bully prevention. So by the end of November of this year, 100% of 3rd grade students will score 80% or higher on the school counselor created bully prevention post-intervention assessment. So we go in, we give a pretest, we review the pretest data, we teach our curriculum, and then give them the post-test. And that gives us good information, like what the kids got from our lesson, what we maybe need to go back and reinforce in small groups, especially because you can go through and look at, the individual data. We do bully prevention K-5, but 3rd grade is just a target year to get that data.
We set 2 goals each year. One goal is a goal kind of for all students, and it needs to be either in the area of academics, social, emotional, or that career development. And then we set a goal, we call it the closing the gap goal. So we're looking at a specific subset of students who are not meeting the standards that we hope for and address that. So if you look at that first goal at the middle school level, that is one of those closing the gap goals. So they're focused on students who have missed 20 to 30 days of school last year. And the goal is that they would miss 10 days or less. So they have interventions working with those students in order to address that. The second goal is one of those tier 1 for all students goals. And so 7th graders will complete a social emotional learning assessment, be able to identify both their strengths and areas for growth within that. That assessment is looking at things like their relationship skills, their social awareness, self-management, self-awareness, all those skills that make for a good colleague and employee at some point in their lives.
We are, I think because the School Links is kind of, it's new. So we've focused on our high school and beyond plan for this year for our goals. And so we have 100% of freshmen will understand graduation requirements, what is needed to pass classes and begin thinking about post-secondary plans. In 10th grade, and I probably should back up. So at the high school, each counselor has a different grade band, and then we have a counselor for Running Start. So in 10th grade, 100% of the sophomores will identify an appropriate career cluster and 3 related course offerings from the high school. In 11th grade, 100% of juniors will complete their career goals in School Links, which is again, identifying what they want to do after they graduate, what their career goal is, and then if they're going to college, what their top school would be. And then in 12th grade, 100% of seniors will complete a senior meeting and identify post-secondary plans. And then our Closing the Gap goal is for our newcomers, and 100% of our newcomers will understand the U.S. high school system and graduation requirements, and then onboard into School Links.
Thank you. Okay, so for West Side, we decided on kind of, well, a few different ones here, but we would like to see 100% of our seniors have created their personalized graduation plan done by the end of first quarter. So about the end of October-ish, we'd like to have that done. And we really want our students, our seniors, to really understand what that means for graduation. And so then that rolls right into creating a personalized pacing guide. So all of our seniors know exactly what they need to be earning each quarter of their senior year to get to graduation. Our next goal would be 100% of incoming students will understand how credits are earned and how these credits accumulate to meet Washington State graduation requirements. Because we operate a little bit different than Wenatchee High School or Eastmont or some of the other schools that feed into us. It's really important that our students of all grade levels really understand that from day one. And then our third goal is to evaluate 100% of day school students to identify the need for intensive personalized supports. And we do that by way of a universal screener that we talked about earlier.
Okay, because we like our work to be led by data, we also take opportunities to review our processes and what we're doing to make sure that we are being effective in our work, and where we could potentially adjust some things to meet the changing needs of our students. So we do time studies. We pick random days throughout the school year. We note everything that we're doing, and here's a breakdown by grade band: elementary school, middle school, and high school. ASCA recommends that 80% of our time be used between direct and indirect services. Direct services, direct student contact, meeting with individual students, talking about academics, SEL, attendance, safety concerns, getting them connected with resources, potentially leading some small group counseling sessions, and then classroom presentations, doing, some character strong curriculum, School Links, high school and beyond, anything that you're working directly with a student. Indirect is advocating on behalf of the student. So whether it's doing our IEP referrals or, prepping our 504 documents, running start paperwork for the following quarter's classes, counseling referrals, like as in community partners, getting kids connected, going through data, doing reporting, doing parent follow-ups, or collaborating with staff members about individual student needs. That falls under indirect, and that's the red portion. Sorry, direct was blue. And then the yellow, program planning and school supports, school links, character strong, lesson planning, sharing that out with staff members, getting our students ready for those lessons. Our MTSS meetings, or our SST, smaller groups by grade band, where again, we talk about the data coming out around grades and attendance and any of the concern reports to then create intervention plans and next steps for our student supports. Scheduling, a big chunk at the secondary level, mostly second semester, and staff meetings. And then for the green slice, the non-school counseling tasks, again, it varies by grade level. But these are things that are not necessarily recommended for counseling, for counselors, but yet, I mean, as part of a team, we're going to step up and we're going to help out where needed. So if we need to supervise a certain area to cover for a staff member who's not there, or I believe a portion of that is like taking a quick lunch, or doing getting pulled away for tasks, again, that's not within our role. Again, of course, as part of this team, we're going to step up. We're going to be where we need to be to help support students and to keep, things flowing. But there are some, like for an example, counselors at the high school, we don't necessarily do lunch supervision because we are open for students to drop in. And most of us are seeing students throughout lunch because it's their open time, and they'll bring their lunch in, they'll ask questions, and we just have kids shuffling throughout the entirety of lunch. So instead of us being in one set spot to supervise the whole, we are available to take students when they can come and see us. So having us set in one spot might not necessarily be the best use of our time.
Can I ask a question about the pie chart? You just had that before.
Sure.
It seems, why is 80% direct and indirect chosen by ASCA? It seems to me that support, planning, figuring out how to intelligently use the information you get, are pretty important things.
I agree. Why 80%? Anyone can jump in and help me here.
When you're looking at your work, how do you feel the challenge of being able to move that's what I'm really wants.
Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, for counselors.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, that's I mean, I agree, like analyzing that data and taking the time to come up with the supports is an important part. And I don't know how it is at the middle school, but at the high school, we have the MTSS coordinator. So she's not a counselor, but she does a lot of that data analyzing. And then we sit down as a group and look it over, but she's doing a lot of the time to put it all together. Because if we were having to do that, then it would just take away from, being able to meet one-on-one with kids. Yeah.
I believe that the yellow and the green would be a lot more. So having that person as the lead of collecting all that data and finding out where the areas of needs are and how that's changing over time gives us the opportunity to put that into action so that we can spend hopefully as close to that 80% as possible, meeting with students, offering them supports, getting them connected with the different resources, and then hopefully eliminating some barriers along the way so that they can get back into the classroom and take advantage of their time in school. So if someone can spearhead that and give us the data, then we can go into action versus taking more time just kind of reviewing the data and collecting it. So we can work with students.
That's a great question, Martin. I have a question on the graphs that you have up here. Middle school, 22% looks just a little bit off on the non-school counseling task. Can you speak to why it happens to be more at middle school disproportionately, Rhonda? Thank you.
There we go. At middle school, counselors are expected most days to be supervising lunch. So that is an hour a day, 5 days a week, a big chunk of our time. We have 2 lunches, yeah, 2 lunches, so 30 minutes for each of those lunches. Any other questions? I appreciate as we're going, stop us and ask questions at any time. That's great.
I'll ask one right now that I'm jotting down some notes for later on, but you walked into that. And this gets back to the beginning of your presentation and you described all your activities. Could you talk a little bit about how you, as counselors, collaborate and work with family advocates and graduation specialists? You're, in a sense, got slightly different emphases, but doing, to me, very similar work a lot of the time under 2 different groups. Could you talk a little bit about how you manage that to be effective?
I can start with the middle school level. So at the middle school, we have a family advocate. We don't have graduation specialists. That would be, I'll let high school take that one. But in our building, we have a weekly meeting where we pull together what we call our support team. We call it our SWAT team. Not sure why. It's not an acronym. It's just what we call ourselves. And so with that team, we have counselors, we have admin, we have our family advocate. We have a couple individuals in our building who focus on some SEL, social emotional support, part-time, and then they teach part-time. And so we just bring all of our support personnel together once a week. And that's our team where we kind of do some triage. We look at what kids are needing support, who is going to take on that support, how that's going to be implemented. And so that's certainly a way that we include family advocates. Another thing we do, students can request help in different ways. We have, our students are issued iPads, and there is a button on the iPad that says help. And so when they press the help button, it takes them to a Google form. On that form, they can request different kinds of help. If they have something they need to report to an administrator, it'll go to an administrator and they can support them. If they're needing help with, they need school supplies or clothing or those types of needs, that'll go to our family advocate. If they're needing counseling support in some way, it'll come to us. So that's another way that kids can discreetly reach out. And so we work through that with our family advocate to kind of figure out what's the type of help they need and who is best positioned to help support that. Do you guys want to talk about graduation specialists?
A big factor is kind of just our sheer numbers and how many students per caseload. So it kind of goes back to it takes a village, and we do have different members of that village that can focus in on a specific set of needs. So when we identify students who need that type of service, we will refer them to work individually to make sure that they're getting the level of support that they need that could potentially fall short if one person were trying to tackle everything. Again, with over 2,000 students in the building, it's very challenging to make sure that we're connecting with all students, but not just that, like to do it well. We don't want to fall short and make someone feel like, okay, you've got 5 minutes, let's talk about this and move on. Some situations take a lot longer, so we can break down smaller caseloads and allow someone to focus in on a specific need and make sure that they're seeing it through until that student's need is actually met. So whether it's a small pot of students who are working with our grad specialist or a small pot of students who are McKinney-Vento who need additional services from our family advocates, we trust that they can help serve that student well. And it doesn't eliminate us from the equation. We're still part of it. We still collaborate regularly to see how everyone's doing, and then to offer different types of support, but it's very much a team effort. And I'm very thankful that we have those individuals as part of our team.
Well, and I'll just add on to, there is like certain students that qualify for different caseloads. So there's, 50 kids based on, and then we meet weekly and talk about them together, but they are on our grad specialist caseload based on their demographic or what. Yeah. Do you have something?
And at Westside, we're our staff members wear a lot of different hats. So it kind of blurs. I'm trying to think, like we don't have a graduation specialist per se. Someone like Yeah. And so it's really just identifying the need, and we all come together and be like, how can we do this? And so that's led to the creation in the last couple of years of like a food pantry that we have right there at school. We have clothing available. If a family needs help with gas, we have ways to be able to help support that. So we really try to do a lot of things just in-house as best we can to just get it quicker.
I guess I would just add, what I was reaching for a little bit is I would assume that you refer between each other. And like, for example, there are quotas for certain qualifications like graduation specialists. So that, and I would hope that the two sides can refer to each other, see where their needs are, trade off efficiently, so there are no gaps and or at least minimize gaps and overlaps. And it sounds like you're able to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so we came up with this slide just for some clarification about what is appropriate for school counselors and what is not appropriate, staying within our scope of expertise, I guess. So therapy, long-term counseling, we in school counseling focus on solution-focused brief therapy, in elementary especially. I mean, our job, when people ask, like, what kind of therapy do you do? It's not therapy at all. The goal is to get students back in the classroom to learn, the whole purpose that we're at school. So we meet with students short term, and then we refer when necessary. We connect families with outside resources, but we focus on the academic, social, emotional, and career needs within the school, and then make connections for the therapy if that's needed. And typically with elementary students, you need the family involved in that therapy. So whether it's happening at the school for some of the sessions or they're going to the agency itself, we do not, and it's not appropriate for us to diagnose mental health disorders. Obviously, we are not qualified to do that. Sometimes when there are suspected learning issues or mental health conditions, we can have those uncomfortable conversations with parents and ask leading questions like, have you talked to your pediatrician about these concerns? If the family is listing off some of the worries that they're having, so we can help guide families and I think using our professional judgment when to maybe encourage that and when to pull back a bit when we start seeing, resistance or big emotions from the families. But that is our job, is to help give families data and information. And then it's definitely not appropriate for us to give and be the disciplinarians as we are building a safe relationship with the kids. That doesn't mean that we don't hold high expectations for them. And I always explain that they get to come to the counseling office before there's discipline. We talk about how to prevent it. And then also we see the kids after discipline, before they go back to the classroom, maybe after a suspension, just so we can wrap that up and make plans for better choices next time.
I have a question regarding about that.
Mhm.
I understand completely of the therapy and diagnosis for mental health disorders, because that is out of your scope, and that you're working with the families. What are you doing with what is the district doing with children, whether in elementary, middle school, or high school, that don't have the family, that they have the foster care, or whether they're in transient or homeless, and they don't have that advocacy work, but they need that sort of guidance and help. So if the families and parents aren't there, or a legal guardian of that matter, or a step, whatever that case may be, because I was a step parent for a very long time with some children that didn't have that advocacy that really needed it. So where is that connection happening?
I can't speak for every building. I know at our building in particular, we have so many different interventions that we help the kids with at the elementary with there is a line though, how much we can do. We can refer, we can have parents come in as much as possible, but you're right, there's some times where.
Do you work within the states, with the state services if the state DSHS is involved?
So if we find that it's negligent, that this student is not getting what they need, then that is part of our mandated reporting. And within Child Protective Services, they have the FAR program, which is about connecting the family and making it stronger, not tearing it apart and taking away kids, which is the stereotypical belief about Child Protective Services. So.
ESHS or come to us from K Connections. They do qualify for certain things in the state. So a lot of them will have an issued guardian ad litem from the state, or here we have an amazing local CASA program that also helps. And they are also eligible for Treehouse educational advocacy. And also we do work with DCYF caseworkers, social workers on a regular basis.
And also I would say if we have students who are age 13 or older and are needing counseling type support, they can access that even if their parent is not in favor or not in support of that. So we have a couple agencies that we work with. CVCH now is providing a therapist at each middle school for 1 day a week, so we can refer to that person. We do fill that caseload really quick. And we also have Daybreak, which is an online teletherapy that can be used. Always our first goal is to try and involve families and parents, that we never want to do something without a parent. But there are cases where the parent is not involved or chooses not to provide the services that the student is asking for. And so beyond the age of 13, they can access it without. But our first goal is always to involve families.
Thank you. As counselors, we do have the opportunity to be teachers. And so what this looks like kind of varies from building to building and can come in the form of like classroom lessons, more targeted small group lessons, or like large group instruction, like sometimes like during an assembly or something like that. But for elementary, we're kind of laying those foundational skills, identifying like what's a small versus a big problem, bullying, abuse and suicide prevention, making and keeping friends, conflict resolution, how to identify and regulate feelings, and coping skills. In middle school, kind of that shifts over to relationship skills, again, more conflict resolution, emotional regulation, and coping strategies, and of course, always working on self-esteem. For high school, emotional regulation continues, healthy relationships, so romantic and friendships, kind of the focus there. Self-advocacy for personal and academic. And that one is really huge right now. Just empowering our students to be able to use their voices and feel safe to do so to get their needs met. And then our post-secondary planning. So teaching them all about figuring out where you'd like to go to school and how to apply and all of that, how to fill out a FAFSA, all of those things. And I apologize, I didn't get it on the slide here, but we are also talking about suicide prevention as well in high school.
Okay, so we kind of broke up, well, we did break up our what an average day looks like, and not to say that all these things happen every day, but broken up into direct, indirect services, program planning, and non-counseling. But a typical day for me in particular is we see individuals, so kids can sign up to see you, or we just have our list that we go pull. And that can be individual or groups of kids, depending on the issue. We do classroom lessons every week. At Lincoln in particular, we have a very large fifth grade class. We have 5 groups of fifth grade. So the other counselor and I were part of the specialist rotation. So he or I were teaching a 45-minute class each day. And it's a fun experiment, but so it's social emotional learning every day for the 5th grade, and we're getting a lot of good info to them. So it's been fun. I do a lot of lunch groups, and especially just helping kids find connections with other kids. Seems like lunch is just a really nice way to do it in a smaller office space. I call it like my match.com, like just pulling kids together who maybe I think might be a good connection. And we also do student jobs. There's a lot of kids who don't love the recess times or are excelling in other areas. And so we're plugging them in. We're very big at Lincoln and understaffed. And so we need help, especially with like our little kids. So we have 5th graders who don't want to be outside for recess, and we've plugged them in to help in the specialist class and in their classrooms as little mentors, and it's amazing. We have non-contingent student breaks. So students who just need 15 minutes out of the classroom, counselors, we're taking those kids, we're working on skills with them, or we're just playing games with them, just getting them out of the classroom. Crisis response is a big part of our day. So all of our teachers have Google Chat. And so if there's an issue in the classroom where a student needs to be removed, they send a crisis chat. And so admin is on that and counselors. And so we're just on the go pulling kids. We have a little timeout, chat, conversation, break, and then we get them ready to go back to class. We're constantly working on behavior plans with teachers and incentives. And child study team is basically when a student is of concern for academic, social, or behavioral issues, and teachers will fill out the referral. So I am getting all that data. We don't have an MTSS person, so I'm collecting that, and we are facilitating the meetings and doing the special ed, helping with the special ed referrals and 504 plans. We are meeting with families and the family advocates to get the basic needs, clothing, food, mandated reporting. Community agencies, we're making the referrals and collaborating. It's nice when we can collaborate with counseling agencies to find out, okay, what are you working with the student? Let's have that common language here at school. It's a really nice partnership. The program planning, we go have meetings when the grade level teams are meeting. And so we talk about students of concern. So we can leave with, okay, here's the 2nd graders who need this or that. We're running the social emotional learning and collaborating with the admin on the PBIS, all the positive parts of the school. And so that is our chat, like our crisis chat, that sounds, so I'll turn that off, but like that's some help. And so the non-counseling, there's a lot of it, and it's all hands on deck all the time. So anyone who's not teaching a class we are 8 special ed paras short at our school. And so we are all paraprofessionals as well as our other job. So we're doing a lot of like really funny, interesting things all day. Every day is very, very different. It just depends on the needs of the students. So we're meeting the teachers and the kids where they're at. And yeah, it's no day is like the one before.
So middle school, a lot of those things look similar. But I thought it would be fun. I just wrote down a couple weeks ago what a typical day looks like. Welcome to my world. So I started my day with a new student, had come in mid-year, gave a tour, explained building expectations, all those things that we do for the first couple of weeks of school to get students ready. This student didn't get the opportunity to learn that. So we go over expectations, discuss challenges of being a new student. Do they know anyone? How to make friends? What lunch looks like? Middle school lunch is very scary if you don't know anybody. So talked through some of those kind of things and just start building that connection with that new student. Next, I met with a student who had a conflict with another student. This is very common in middle school. Our goal at middle school is to teach them strategies to deal with the conflict, not to take it from them and solve it for them. So the first approach is always, what have you tried? How's that working? And what are other skills that we can help build in you? And then if it doesn't resolve it, kind of what are some next steps? We don't ever want to leave them with, go try it, good luck, and never talk to them again. We want to circle back and see if that worked. But also to check in to see if sometimes there is a problem that's a little too big for a kid to handle, and the adults do need to step in and have a bigger role in that process. Then I met with another student who had experienced a very traumatic situation in their life a few years ago and are finally at a place where they're ready to talk about it. I do not do diagnoses, but I have a lot of pre-screeners. So we did kind of a PTSD pre-screener. And we talked about what are coping strategies that student could use. And then we talked about making a referral to more intensive therapy. That pre-screener now that I have, I can talk with family, I can talk with the referring therapist that I've done this. And although I'm not making a diagnosis, I have some data to indicate that might be a direction they wanna look. Then it was time for lunch supervision. So I go down, monitor the lunchroom, make sure they're behaving. I've started a lunch club. At our school, lunch is 30 minutes. The first 15, we hope students are seated and hopefully eating. And then the last 15 minutes is a bit of organized chaos. If you've ever been at lunch, it's fabulous. Some kids go outside and play soccer. We have a group that goes out with an adult to do that. And then we have this wonderful courtyard at Orchard that's fully enclosed and protected. So you'll see Foursquare, you'll see tag, you'll see all sorts of activities that kids are engaged in. But we have some students that don't really engage in that. So I started a lunch club teaching kids to crochet. So if you've ever seen 15 middle schoolers try and crochet, it's a lesson in perseverance, both for them and myself. But anytime we have an opportunity to get kids together to do those things, it is still a teaching experience. We're teaching social skills. We are teaching persevering through difficult challenges. Then I had a 504 planning meeting where I was reviewing the data that we'd collected on a student with the family, determining whether or not that student was eligible for services and what an accommodation plan might look for. Then it was second lunch, another round of supervision and lunch club. After that, we had a student who came pretty frustrated from lunch. There were some tears. They weren't really in a situation where they could go to class and be successful. So we spent some time de-escalating and working through strategies to get that student back into class. Then I had a planning meeting for a new student who had some severe behavioral challenges and how we were going to bring that student into our building successfully. Then I met with our success team to review our teacher needs screener, which kind of helped figure out what student needs were and how we were going to implement that, whether we were going to provide groups. There are certain students who are appropriate in a group setting and other students that might need more individual strategies. So working through how we were going to serve those. And then I met with another student who's had lots of behavioral challenges in the past. And so we did some short-term and long-term goal setting. We shot basketball together because this is not a kid who sits still real well. So we talk a lot better when there's some movement. So I got to get some exercise. And then the day was over. So that's just kind of a typical day in the life. All those things come up at some point in the day or within the week. Fortunately, not every day. But that's kind of what middle school looks like.
Yeah. I could talk a little bit then. Yeah. I think, those time studies that we did, it's really interesting to me. Like when we do a time study that day, how different it can be based on the time of year. Because at high school, our lives will be consumed with certain parts of high school. in the midst of that, so things would be like, you know, if it's right before school starts, trying to get all of the kids scheduled and into their classes and all the schedule changes that happen and new students that are coming in and trying to get them settled. Right now we're in the midst, she's doing senior meetings like 10 a day, every single day. I've been doing some senior meetings and I've been going into classrooms to talk about, you know, different options after high school. And that's this season. And then we're going to step into the next round of like picking their classes for next year. So where are you at with graduation requirements? Where are you at? We got to come up with a plan. So I think throughout high school, there's kind of these seasons, but in the midst of that, we have kids that come in crisis, or we have a caseload of, you know, my top 2 kids that I need to check in on a regular basis, or just trying to like hang out in the hallways and say hi to people. Hey, how was your soccer game? How did this go? I walked to class with a lot of kids just to catch up. How was your weekend? Trying to do that follow-up that Rhonda's talking about. How do you weave that in as well? So you're not pulling kids out of the classroom. So, I mean, all of these things happen every day. And I feel like depending on what time of year it is, my hat is different. It's like, we're always putting on a different hat at the time. And it's actually really fun. And I know we're not here yet. We get to talk about why we like being a counselor, but no day is the same. I think you've heard that a couple of times. But we're just meeting kids where they're at, what they, you know, at that moment is what we're doing.
The one thing that I mean, I think you said it perfectly. We're just kind of going with the flow, literally, like the waves, they just happen. But that our team, the different individuals that make up our team is kind of our village and our saving grace, because as I am book solid with 10 senior conferences, but life is happening with everybody at the same time. I have a student who a safety concern just came in for, and I have another student who after 2 weeks, all of a sudden popped into a classroom. So we need to catch him. So I am talking to our family advocate. I'm talking to our ed advocates. I am talking like in our Google chat. Thank you, Google chat. Catch the student and literally doing 4 or 5 things at once. As a team, so that again, my attention can be on the student that's sitting in my office talking about post-secondary plans, and then the student who just came in, our ed advocates on it, and then our other student who it's a Friday afternoon and we know that they need to make it to the pantry, our ed advocates our family advocates on it. So teamwork really does make the dream work in this situation, because we never know what's going to happen, but at the same time we know that everything is happening and the system is just working pretty well to meet those needs. So it's never, even though like my calendar is telling me this is exactly what you're doing, there's a whole bunch of fine print within each, appointment and the little gaps if I finish 5 minutes early. So we just roll with it, and we have an amazing team who's very responsive and really, really good at what they do. So it's working.
Yeah, if you ever follow your calendar, you're like, what's going on? It's weird. What is happening? But Jennifer, I had a quick question for you. We have been, I've been getting the Panther Press videos that come out weekly, and I've been sharing with our board members as well. And you've done some creative advertising to your seniors and there. How is the senior meetings going? Are you getting a good response? How many do you have to chase down? How many do you have to like go do home visits? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
The senior conferences are going really well. This is my first cohort that I started with them as freshmen, and they're seniors now. So I've seen the whole thing. I've seen growth, and I'm seeing that spark, of excitement and a little bit of nervousness for what comes next, because planning for life after high school is kind of a big deal. I am looking at creative ways to get the news out to my students and through Parent Square now with their families to keep everybody in the loop. But bless their hearts, they don't always read their emails. So it's one of those life skills that we are working on, the emphasis of like, hey, let's develop a routine where at least once a day you're looking at what's coming out. So I'm preparing for the event that they don't read their email, that they're not prepared for the meeting, that I can still make it happen in the amount of time that we have. And it's been really good so far. Having great conversations, and for students who still come in and they're like, I can't think about life after high school. I'm like, well, you can do this. Let's start here. And even with something as simple as like, okay, open a Google search on your phone. Like, let's put in a couple keywords and see what happens. And then they're like, oh, really? That's it. To get the wheel turning. And then like, okay, let's use school links now and let's do a career assessment. Okay, we're in like the momentum starts to build. So really good conversations, not always prepared, but you know what? We roll with it. And it's still effective. I have a lot of students who are coming in really confident, knowing exactly what they're doing. And some of the students in this district, I mean, like, we're gonna see their name in lights someday. Like, they're gonna change. These are the kids that are gonna change the world. We have some amazing kids. So being creative with communication, very important, because they don't need their emails, and incorporating the whole parent square thing now, I feel is really effective. I can see who's receiving it and who's reading it, and I'm getting really good responses back. So there's increased engagement from families. So I feel that was a big positive for this year. So yay district, yay us. I'll stop talking.
I will say something for a plug for counselors, just watching this. So when we were looking at school links, some of what I saw with that was they were like, like part of their high school and beyond plan was just watching videos, necessarily not having a connection with someone. And that's something that we keep talking about, because Jen has sent out a ton of amazing, like, your communication this year with students and parents has been above and beyond, but still kids aren't taking the steps. When they just read it or they just hear it, they don't always take the next step. And I think that's why we need counselors there, or people in their lives, to say, okay, we need to have a conversation and help them take that next step. Just watching it on a video isn't gonna do it for all kids. Some kids, they're type A and they'll, check off whatever, but I think those one-on-one connections are really important to help kids along.
Okay, day in the life at Westside. No day is ever the same. Yes. Yeah, the day starts, we're greeting students at the door. A lot of times I'm following them to breakfast and just kind of doing those little just touches of just like, hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? Just that informal, just connecting with them and seeing how they're doing. Next in the day, I might roll into like a safety planning meeting. So that's where I'm meeting with a parent or guardian and a student. Perhaps a student is returning to us from inpatient treatment. Well, we want to know how best to support them at school. So we're going to create this plan and share that out with our team. Then next, I've got a student waiting for me, and they're pumped. Like, they just got their health credit and they are done. And so we need a schedule change, and we are celebrating that they are one step closer to graduation. And we're like, okay, what's next? So at Westside, it's pretty cool. We don't have to wait till a quarter or a semester. Students can wrap up credit and literally just go into the next class that same day sometimes, which is pretty awesome. So we get to do that. Then let's see, I might sit down at my desk and work on a special education referral for one of our students, do a CUME file review, kind of pull that information together for the team to see if the team would like to move forward with testing. Let's see here. So I've got a whole list. Daybreak. Talking to students about Daybreak has been really great. A lot of times, as I get to know students and we find that there may be a need for counseling services, they're not driving yet, or, mom, single family home, they're just going to have that barrier of getting to an appointment somewhere. So I tell them about Daybreak, or even if they were hesitant to begin counseling, I mean, like, you can do this in your pajamas, like at your house. You can do this here at school. We'll find a place for you to do that. And that intake process is pretty amazing at how quick and efficient it is. We also have the Google chat for crisis. So that sound was very familiar to me, the little dings. I had to mute it before I came in so it wouldn't look. But just see like who needs support. And it's really great because our team will just be like, oh, I'm heading that way. We know who's got it and can kind of go there. Program changes are something that we do fairly often. So let's say if a student comes to us maybe sophomore year or junior year, they stay with us, and then senior year, they're getting really close to finishing their credits. And so they would like to attend less school hours per week. So we may move them into one of our ALPS programs to better accommodate their work schedule, just family responsibilities, et cetera. So we get to talk through all those options. I could go on and on, so I will I will stop. Any questions about Westside? Okay. Yeah.
Google Chat. And becoming creative with how I communicate with my kids, and I'm sorry, I might be going off on a tangent here. They don't necessarily respond to their emails, but they love responding to Google Chat. I have started, if you guys look at my chat there right now, all my kids right there, hey, did you get this in for you, Deb? Like, I need your activities resume, and they are on it. Versus their email, it would be a couple days and be like, okay, I'm just gonna hop on chat, and then boom, there they are. So word for the wise, use Google Chat. They'll more than likely respond. Just my little plug for Google Chat.
I wanted to ask a question about how you deal with passive resistance, but actually I think I've heard 90% of the answer, a lot of creativity and a lot of no single answers. But I want to extend into kind of my ulterior motive with a bit of a question. Pathway to graduation, doing those annoying surveys and coming to conferences and I've had the impression from a little bit of mentoring that over time, the students have gone from, why am I doing this, to actually accepting it and seeing the grains of value in it. And I haven't seen, at least my level, a lot of resistance. So I think this is more of a kind of a wish than a question. And the ulterior motive is, how do we make students feel that it's their good civic duty to take standardized tests and help? I'm looking at the policy that has just come before the board, because I think that's an important issue. But the similarity is, it seems to me that in the pathway to after graduation, a lot of success has been achieved by the methods that you've used to make students aware that actually it is worth doing this thing. It does benefit me, and I can kind of do it. So if I'm wrong that you haven't made steady progress and creative and that it changes every day or every month, that signaling that I think in other areas, I think we need the kind of skill that you've used to get students to accept that this is good for me, even though initially I thought I didn't want to do it. And Corey, do you have?
No, I think that's a great
And
segue.
and from your point of view, am I optimistic, or do you really feel that you've managed to achieve things in the last 10 years?
So in the last 10 years, in regards specifically to standardized testing, or in the last?
Standardized testing is the next stumble. That's the
yes,
next pebble we're
okay.
going to kick our toes on. Okay.
Yeah.
The previous one was getting everybody to accept these the survival skills for after school and do all the extra things and come to the meetings and appreciate that matters. And I think that, to me, seems to have been achieved and created a culture that accepts it in general. I'm sure it's not completely.
Yeah.
Just thinking from kind of the West Side lens, is a lot of our students that come to us, we understand that we maybe weren't their first choice for graduation. And so a lot of that is just instilling hope and getting kids excited again about graduation. Graduation is possible. It may not be in June. That's okay. We're going to start where you are, and we're going to map out a plan. We're going to get you to graduation. And so I think, I just think about hope and just getting them excited, because when they don't know what's next, or, the steps even to get to graduation, they kind of shut down, because that's a very scary place to be, a lot of anxiety there.
And I don't know if I can speak to the last 10 years. I've only been at Wenatchee for 7 now, but I feel like the past, say 3 or 4, we've become more intentional about this idea of a high school and beyond plan. And what I'm seeing too is that some kids just don't even know what is out there or what the first step would be to make that happen. And I feel like we are starting to really push in to really let kids know you can do this, or even if they have no idea what they want to do, to really start being like, you're amazing in math. Let's look at all the different jobs that you can do in math. Okay, now we've looked at these jobs. What are the different pathways or different ways that you could do this job? You don't necessarily have to go to a four-year university. Maybe we go an apprenticeship route, like really trying to help them walk through what are their strengths, what are they good at, and then having them envision, well, why I just did this lesson. I had a kid ask me, well, even if I graduate or I go to college, how do I even get a job? I go, how do I even get a job after that? So we looked up all the current jobs that the PUD is offering. And I was like, this is in our community. And then looked at the job descriptions, and this is the qualifications. This is why we're doing this. You just got to get the qualification and then you can apply for these jobs. But I think there's some, maybe we assume the kids know that, but some kids don't. They just don't have that lens yet. And so my hope is that the more that we are just educating them even about what their next steps could be, what is out there, that there'll be more hope, or kids won't be as resistant to be taking some of these tests or doing some of these next step things. And one last thing I'll just say, I also think it comes, siblings play a big part. So if the older sibling went and did XYZ, that can really trickle down to, as time goes on. So, yeah.
And I think I just want to go just for a second longer, because I think it's the same thing to encourage at the elementary and the middle school. This is in your interest. Be curious, be excited. It's not an easy mood change to achieve, and listening to it, looking at it from the community's point of view, I think that's important, is where you are showing the way in all our other areas. We need to see whether as a community we can use that and it can spread outside just the counseling department, because I think, into an attitude to life in general from the elementary school right the way through. And so that was kind of why I asked that question, because I think it's more important than just, I used graduation as just one example, but I think it's generic and it's a cultural attitude change that I think it's important for our future health.
So we've had a lot of presentations from Jake Buchholz talking about the CTA options and, all these pathways and all these options. And it seems overwhelming to, if I were the average student coming in, looking at, here are my options, here's what this means, here's what you could do. Do you guys feel like you have enough time to kind of walk them through that? Is there another way that we could kind of supplement that so that they certainly could take that home and, have that conversation with their parents, or like you said, siblings? Or it seems like that you guys are, you're doing 10 a day and there's 2,000 students. So that doesn't pencil out. Like, what are the ways that we could kind of give them the resources so that it's not such a surprise that this is how I get a job? That might have been like none questions or too many questions, but does that kind of make sense in terms of timing versus the quantity of information?
Well, and Jake Buchholz, like you said, I think has thought through this. He's a systematic, and so he put together that college success team. I think that's what he's calling it, SST or CC. I don't know. Yeah, CCST or something. Yeah. But so there's 5 that aren't counselors, 5 other employees that are sitting down in middle schools and having conversations with students and parents to have them start digesting all of the classes, but also to start talking about what opportunities are available in the community. And I think it's good that we're starting in middle school, because then there's time. And I think too, it's important, they're not going to maybe some kids in 7th grade know exactly what they're going to do and be on that line, but usually it takes some time for them to figure that out. And so I think the more that we just continually are asking them about it every year, building on it as their maturity, that, they all say they're going to be baseball players, but then, yeah. But the maturity too, I think plays a role. Like I feel like junior year is a really great year because students do start to like have a different realization about themselves a little bit. And they do start thinking a little bit. It's still scary, but there's a shift that happens.
And sorry, I'm having a lot of thought right now. I think this kind of highlights the importance of having individual conversations with students, not necessarily, I mean, because we have a website, we have all our resources linked. I'm going to toot my own horn. I created this amazing senior info sheet with so many links, but my kids didn't read the email. They didn't read through the sheet. So we're looking at it during the senior conference and then they're like, oh my gosh, oh, I could have used this like a month ago. Like I sent it in August. So it just highlights the value of communication, of creating relationships with our students. And early on too. So I'm glad that we have our new college success team starting in the 7th grade to have these in-person conversations sooner to get them thinking about it, because that's when it really clicks, when you're having a conversation, because you can see if it's not clicking, or you can see like, okay, we can build on this. And I think that also kind of goes to highlight why ASCA is recommending that 80% of our time be direct and indirect services, because the effectiveness comes from individual conversations, because the needs of the students are so unique that it's only going to be effective when we can read them in that moment and help guide them through kind of wherever they're sitting. So again, having that bigger support team to kind of take on those pieces, to collect that data so that we can actually, with our, our training and our skill set, go into action and help these kids keep plugging away. I don't know, it kind of came to light through this conversation. Like it's been there, but like just to highlight it for all of us, right? So yeah. Just gotta talk to them.
You can probably tell we really love our jobs. Being a school counselor is, I just don't even have the word. So let's look at the words of some of our counselors in the district. I am thankful that every day I have the opportunity to listen to young people and try to help them navigate their life path. Their humor, optimism, and honesty help as much as I help them. I feel so blessed to be able to work with students and all of their fun personalities, stories, uniqueness on a daily basis. I am a counselor because I want to be an advocate and support for students who don't have a voice. I love being a school counselor. I always strive to be an adult in a child's life who makes them feel heard so they know they are important. Yeah, it is an honor to do this work. Yeah.
Thanks, Heather, for that. Mike shared a little bit with me that there was a counseling meeting where this topic kind of came up, and it was kind of serendipitous that it landed on this presentation today. So we really appreciate this. What a great way to close a wonderful presentation. An amazing group of individuals. Thank you all for being here. I don't know if do we have any other questions or comments for our team? Did you have anything else that you wanted to add in here? Yeah.
I just want to thank the board and for, on behalf of the counseling team, for you devoting this time to listen to our program and engage in conversation with us. And it helps us feel more valued. So thank you for your time today. Any questions, thoughts you guys have for us?
I just wanted to return. We all probably want to thank you for what you do and how you move the culture and lift it up. And you deal with all the extremes. It's great. And it was really helpful to me to raise my awareness to listen to you. Thank you.
I'll just add as well too. I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here, and Will for his pop in. He wasn't even on the slide deck and he just came by. I love it. So it's always good to see Will, but just thank you. I miss working with the counseling team. I had a couple of amazing years where I got to spend a lot of time with you all. So it's great to have you here. Thank you for being the people that you are. I think that the role of school counselor is not suited for just anyone. And it really takes a passion and a desire and a commitment to really be all those words that we mentioned, the advocate and the leaders. So thank you for that work, because we couldn't do this work without you. So thanks for your time and your energy today. Thank your teammates back in the buildings for allowing you to be here with us, because I know their days got harder without their support team. And just thank you for being such an integral part of not only our strategic plan, but also the Wenatchee School District. So thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, Maria.
I'm here. Sorry, I missed it in person. If you're talking to me, I can't hear you.
They just
Feel
said,
better.
feel better. Yes. And we missed you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll see you guys all soon. Thank you.
Feel better, Marita. Thank you.